AJ, we're talking today about truth and error, and I have a deep error with self-love and the shame and an addiction to make myself wrong, and I seem to do all the work I can on it, and I don't know if I'm moving. I'd like some help, please.
Karina, the reason why you're not moving on it is because it's not the emotion.
I'd like the truth then.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Because you've been getting the truth for quite some time from Mary and rejecting it.
Well, this is where I'm in error, so...
You notice how the tears stop straight away? Can I just point out to you that those tears were the crocodile tears we were talking about earlier? Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, and this is the problem with us sometimes, is we get addicted to the emotion so that we can avoid sometimes the underlying causal emotion. Right? Mm-hmm. So let's look at it. Let's look at the real thing that's going on for you. So what's the real thing going on for you? There's a desire for what? This is where it's going to be very hard for you because, again, I'm going to be quite blunt. Does that make sense?
I need that, I think, because if I'm not picking it up and you've been trying to help me, I need blunt, probably.
But Mary has already been quite specific with you about what the emotion is. But it's because a woman, you can't hear her. Because she's a woman, you're not hearing her. So let's look at some issues here. One, a woman is showing me what the emotion is and I reject it. I'm not hearing. I'm not even hearing, like it's not even going into my soul. Right? Who do you think that's with? Who do you think that's about?
My mother.
How is your relationship with your mum? Yeah, straight away, see. But how's your relationship with Mum? Mum was very, very damaging with you. And so now, any woman speaking the truth to you, you instantly want to, oh, I don't want to even hear that. I'll block with that. Now, if you can deal with this issue of the blockage with your mother, like if you can just allow yourself to feel how your mother truly treated you, what will happen is you will be open enough emotionally to hear what Mary is saying to you, and you'll find out that she is actually right about what's going on inside of you about the desire for prominence emotion. Does that make sense? Which is the other emotion that you've been trying to work on. So you told me that you felt very unworthy. Actually, I'm saying to you, no, there is a desire for glory and prominence in you. Right? That's very different to an emotion of unworthiness. That's a projection at the universe that I want you to recognise me. I want you to notice me. Now that comes from childhood of not being recognised. But can you see how you have it in particular with males? Right? You want the males to recognise you in particular, more so even than the females. You're willing to even compromise your own sexuality for that to occur. In the past, I'm talking. Right? So look at this issue with the woman firstly. The woman is, whenever I hear the woman, it's like the woman's not even speaking. The woman's not even speaking to me. It's like if she's telling me some truth. And this is how it was with your mum. You just have blanked. You don't want to hear what she's got to say. And the reason why is because she said some pretty bad things and done some pretty bad things that you don't want to feel about. Does that make sense? And you know that. Yeah? And you can easily work through this if you allow that emotion to just flow in you. Yeah? It'll quite easily flow. Mary wants to say some additional thing too.
Just similar to what you were saying to Mel about when you're processing and there's still a projection coming out of you, you're not going to clear the emotion. So, Karina, I feel you're getting stuck in processing, but the projection is still coming out of you. I want the approval, I want these things, and because of that, you're not just connecting with the really deep grief that's there.
So if you imagine this is you, Karina, sorry about the perspective, and what is happening at you, when you're feeling your grief, this is what is happening, you start feeling your grief. At the same time, there's some blocking parts in you with the grief where you expect others to hear and notice and take value your grief. Right? So what's going out to the world is this projection of, like, I'm feeling grief here. All of you need to understand. I'm feeling grief here. Don't you see I'm feeling grief here? Like, that's the projection going out to the world. Is it? I've hammed it up a little, but you can feel that in you, right? I'm feeling grief here. Don't notice this. Notice it. Look at me. I'm feeling grief here. Now that is preventing you from truly feeling your grief. Because that is a demand to other people that they share in your grief. And nobody else here, firstly, it's unwise for anybody to share in anybody's grief, for a start. But secondly, it's impossible for me, the way God built your soul and mine, is that it's impossible for me to share your grief. It's totally impossible. I cannot get your grief out of your soul and put it into mine and share it with you. All I can do is feel my own grief when you're feeling yours. Does that make sense? So no matter what action I take, I am never going to be able to share in your grief. And you want people to share your grief and your pain. And while you have that addiction, you are not going to feel the causal emotion completely and release it. Does that make sense? While you have the addiction that other people share in what you've got going on. And this is a very important lesson for everyone who wants to feel their emotions. While you're wanting everyone else to share with you in what you're going through, you are never going to completely go through what you're going through. It's only when you realise that you are totally alone in this, no one else in this universe can actually feel this emotion that's inside of you now. This emotion is in you and only you can feel it. Only you. No one else can do it for you. No one else can make it happen for you or anything like that. This is what you need to come to terms with. At the moment, you're wanting others to share the process with you. And that is a projection to them that also prevents you from ever feeling the causal emotion completely. Yeah? So you haven't noticed me ringing you up saying, oh, I did this last week and I felt that last week. And in fact, not a single person I've ever spoken to knows what I felt last week, aside from the person who watched me do it. Right? And that's what it means to own your emotion, to feel it completely yourself. You are alone in this, and when I say alone in this, only you can feel the emotion. God's with you through the entire process, but only you can do it. Only you. And many of you believe that you can't. But I'm saying to you that God actually made you so you can. But He actually made you so that only you can do it. That nobody else can do it for you. No one. Does that make sense?
And actually that's quite a gift that God has given us, because at the end of it all, we'll have a sense of, wow, I did that.
Yeah.
It's the part of the way God creates us to become who we truly are. If God did it any other way, then we might reach at one moment, but we'd think, oh, I have to have all my sisters and brothers here with me.
Because they all got me here.
God wants us to become the beautiful individual who's confident and loves themselves. And that's part of that gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll actually, in the end, enjoy this process. Because at the moment, we often don't enjoy the process because we don't realise the gifts we're getting by fully involving the process, being involved in the process. And when we're projecting out to other people to feel what we're feeling, we are not personally fully involved in the process. And it's only when we're fully involved in the process that we will actually start getting a closer relationship with God. Right? Because this bond between you and God will intensify so much that you know and you can feel God in you, God's love in you, entering you. And you'll know that you created this relationship through your desire. Nobody else did it for you. People helped you in the sense of showed you what to do, talked to you about it and all these other things, but nobody else did it for you because only you could do it. Only you can. Yep. And you need to give up the idea that other people can do it for you because they can't. How does that feel? It makes you feel alone, terrified, all these other emotions, which are all emotions that are in you already, allowing, and then you need to allow them if you want to get closer to God. Does that make sense? Just be careful of sharing your emotion with groups of people. Right? If it's for the purpose of helping them or teaching them, then do it. But if it's for the purpose of wanting from them validation or commiseration, then you need to stop the addiction. Otherwise you will never get to the bottom of the emotion. Yeah? And that's why, like, how I've gotten to the bottom of my emotions by myself, not expecting you to help me get to that bottom of that emotion. Not expecting even you to tell me what it is. I've never asked you what my emotions are. Does that make sense? Because I haven't had that expectation of you. I want to take total personal responsibility for everything inside of me, which includes meaning that I am only responsible for analysing and feeling and actually working out what's inside of me. Some time ago in Brisbane I gave a talk about personal responsibility. My suggestion is have a really good listen to that talk about personal responsibility. Because without personal responsibility, you will always be projecting onto others that they share in your experience. It's lovely to get people together who share the common goal and the common truth, but if you expect people to share in your common experience, you are way out of harmony with love in that moment. Does that make sense?